Yo, what's going on, guys? So in this video today, I'm just gonna be going over the few setups that I took on GBPJPY, the currency pair, and and show you, exactly I was talking about with that 120 pip move that I had missed out on, and I was almost in it, but ultimately kind of screwed me over. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're gonna go over real quick. So basically, you obviously see this resistance right here that was kind of created on this daily time frame, and then it was turned into support per se after it broke out over here, right here, because this is a considered test right here. But overall, we got that 1, 2, 3, which showed us that push that we needed to confirm that actual break, and then also as well as that on the 4 hour time frame we have got this confirmed higher low. So that made me see and understand that this area or region right here was a confirmed considered higher low in aspects to my principles and what I follow. Okay, so, with that, considering I now know that area and it's well established, I'm also able to see structure be broken literally within, even though on this time frame you can't really see it, I could kind of through experience understand and know. And if I broke it down to like a 1 hour time frame, the last lower high that was broken was like right here that it had made. And I would kind of say, even at best, like we could even utilize this one right here for that one. Then a Wix, and then it broke out 1, 2 test. This would have been an entry region right there, and we could have took that move up. Okay, so that is one move, but the move that I was more so into was over here, and this is where I'm gonna get into a little bit of detail as to how I got in this play. So basically, when it came down, right, you gotta understand this is probably the last place it could reach, or I would say retrace to or rebound to, before being considered an actual break and downtrend. So given that this was the area or region that was ultimately tested after I seen this bearish candle, I kind of was alluding to it almost breaking, but then after seeing that it tested with that next bullish candle, because we needed two in the same direction to be considered a break, and we didn't get that. We got this doji type bullish candle. So that being said, I waited for the next candle, and it evidently, appeared bullish. So when we're breaking down to a lower time frame, I was obviously able to see some type of form of structure within this region, as well as seeing that over here and how it kind of, reacted to this past structure and turned it to support, or I would say, you know, all along this line as well. And you can also see within this region right here, these wicks right here that show many cells exhaustion, as well as buying like pressure, pushing this price higher. That's what it all alludes to. And then I was able to just understand that as a whole. So when I got down to this lower time frame, such as the 1 hour, I started to understand, I probably had to break it down to a lower time frame to see more structure to make sense. So in theory, see more detail, because the last lower high on this 30-minute was per se like right around here, I would say. And then after that, everything else began to become tested after the matter. So I'll even change this color to like yellow just to make an emphasis of things. So after I seen that and understood that this lower high right here that was made, especially on the 1 hour, hadn't been broken. So I kind of had placed it, I would say, at the top one, you know, before the structure was even made. I had seen that. And so I had obviously, see now in the higher time frame aspects, and you can obviously see how it correlates to the higher time frame, and it's kind of looking out of place. But as long as you remember the time frame that you drew your structure on, then that shouldn't play too much of a factor. And you watching it, you maintaining it, and you just overall analyzing it on a higher time frame. So when we break it down to the 1 hour, this is the itty bit of structure you see over here with that big bullish candle. It breaks it out, but it also tests it, and then we don't get that actual, push back down, we get the bullish candle and then this other one. So it kind of confirmed that break, as well as us seeing that SMA and how it's responding to this area region as well. So the actual first play I was able to actually get into was actually after it broke out of this trend line and it retested within them wicks that you're seeing right there. I was able to actually get in a play there. Watch. Once I break it down to like the 5 minute, because the 15 minutes too shabby for me. And then literally within this region, after I seen structure be broken, right? This last lower high be broken. I had seen how structure had formed, and I understood that overall, that if we maintain these lows and they're not being broken, then we're overall still good for that uptrend overall on the higher time frame, such as the 1 hour or even 4 hour as well. Because overall, this is where we are, and this is where we were. But I understood on a higher time frame that structure hadn't been broken, so obviously our highs could be reached again. So, given that, me understanding that, I was looking for plays down here to, take advantage of, manipulate that type of move up there. So, as I'm breaking it down, I understand what I know. The real reason why I also entered off that 5 minute is because I seen this engulfing on the 15 minute as well. And then obviously I place my stops below at my 110% and 102%, right? And that was only me risking 17 pips altogether. And then as well as that, I also had kind of drew a, or I have put a fib like this, like so right here, because me overall understanding on lower time frame structure was broken down here. So obviously, even though we don't have like a higher high here, and it's just a form of structure because of kind of how it looks like it's going down and narrow. I know you guys don't understand the terminology that much, but just following what I'm saying, overall, this hasn't been printed higher than this, so it's kind of considered as like a lower point than this. So that's why I'm indicating it as like a lower high. But when it retraced, right, it never fully came back down here to test these regions. But with me already understanding that market structure was broken down here to go up, right? So considering that, my field that I just do right here was obviously, or I would say you should just see that simply as me further aiding that, or I would say projecting that is bullish rather than it actually already being bullish, you know. But on a lower time frame, such as the 30, even the 15 minute, structure is broken from the lower high standpoint for these times frames. So I was able to utilize the fib in aspects to the lower time frame to kind of, project, the breakout and the resistances to that possible next range, which we obviously got because it pushed through up, right? And TP1 and TP2 were hit all the way up here. And then when they were actually broken, we got that one and a two. So the 27 was broken. And then it came back down and tested it and respected it, right? We obviously got that push up to the higher point. And I'm not going to lie to you, this is actually one of the trades I actually got in and got out once it got up there because I started to see that this engulfing candle had happened. And on a lower time frame aspect, you also got to take into mind this right there as well. That was also, wicks. So that also played a good part as well in having some form of resistance there that played a part in this coming back down. Because on a lower time frame, watch. This kind of already had created a significant higher low on the 5 15 minute time frame because it hit a 38.2. So now that that was cleared, once we actually got a resistance uh, up here with the bullish and the bearish, I was able to kind of tracked this trade all the way up to down here once I seen it had broken its actual structure and it was breaking my 38.2 to actually get out and profit rather than risk, any more money that I had wanted to on this table. So it actually came all the way back down to my entry again, and I had already made profit off that trade. And I was all, as well as that, you could have even did it on the 5 minute as well. You could have seen it for what it was, like so. Like I would say, I'll honestly say like this, right? And it actually broke through one, tested, then one, two. That one would have made me see that it was actually broken just to get out, in profit. And then actually came back down to our entries again, like I said. And then overall, this is one of the trades you could have even taken. I'm not gonna like you could have took this exactly again, like the same narrative, the same way, understanding, what and seeing that how the structure right here was kind of broken out of once we got this tested right here, because we ultimately needed two in the same direction to be considered a confirmed break, right? We didn't get that. We got a bullish and a bearish. We needed another bullish in the same direction. We got it here, but overall, it was obviously, like at met resistance. So with that, it kind of brung it back down. But I already understood on a higher time frame, such as the 4 hour, right? When we were analyzing this on a higher time frame, we're literally in the 50% mark. So me understanding that, I seen that it was simply further just aiding this area as like temporary resistance, because overall it was making these highs, right? These highs, highs, highs. And then overall it was also presenting us higher lows as well. And the higher lows were being maintained. And for an uptrend to be, seen as credible and valid, higher lows have to stay intact. If higher lows are being broken, then the uptrend isn't that much confirmed or valid. So us understanding that is kind of like, I want to see these higher lows be maintained. And if they're being maintained, then I'm going to play upon them, as well as, maintain and scale in those trades. And if those not being maintained, then obviously structure is being broken and we aren't in an uptrend no more. We're in like a downtrend, or it's consolidation, or it's ranging. So once I understood where we were properly, we even now could start to use these levels, these TP levels, as resistances and support. And once I told you it was resistance up here, then it turned to support. We obviously could see, like, let me see if we can see on a 4 hour how it broke through, and it kind of was obviously reacted to this level as some type of support, as you can see right here. And it was obviously kind of consolidating within that range down there. And I'm all I'm breaking it down to this extent because this is how you have to understand it in order to get in certain type of plays, like this one down here. When it came back down, right? I'm about to show you guys. So when it came back down, this is another entry I could have took, understanding what I knew, right? So when it got down here, right, and it kind of broke structure and it was breaking minor structure, and I was kind of seeing it as, like I wasn't really seeing it all too much. I had to go to the higher time frame to actually analyze it. And after analyzing it, seeing that this was 38.2, I thought it broke structure. But when you go to a higher time frame, such as 1 hour, you can see that it evidently didn't really break the 1 hour structure though, because it was still intact and it needed to break this low in order to be considered a downtrend, but it wasn't. So, in that, this was kind of, I would say overall, structure for the 1 hour could even be seen as right here as well. So I'll take that actually back in terms of just that part, in that this was actually the lower high that was actually broken, because we got the one and a two, and then it obviously did like a 23.6 retracement and continued to go up to come back and retrace. So that makes more sense. And see, as I'm analyzing this with you, I'm starting to see actual pinpoints as to why the structure had did what it did. But overall, me understanding that and seeing how this structure is playing a part as well, as a keen of support and seeing how it's like in relative to price. This could have been another entry you took off the damn near, I wouldn't say off the 1 hour, but in retrospect to everything in this candle trend line that it literally just tapped, and the overall trend line that it's respecting on a higher time frame, such as the 4 hour that you can see right here, right? This black one right here. And overall was respecting it. And keep in mind, our TPs for this 4 hour time frame are all the way up here. So they haven't even been hit yet. So this trade or this market structure is still forming up towards our projected bias. So us understanding that we don't even need that higher time frame on if we know our overall like market structure, like the trend that we're in. So understanding that part, let alone anything else, this would have been another entry you could have even took, considering the bias that we were in. And given that you could have even extended your stop losses down here to 31 pips to be projecting 76 pips all the way to 104 pips. But just for this example, let alone we'll do 76 pips, which it actually hit. So this would have been a trade that you actually could say you could firmly got in. And this was one of the plays that I actually didn't get in because after getting in this one and then getting out, I was pretty much unsure of overall, structure because I wasn't like too much engaged in it. And I was also, doing other things. But ultimately, this is another play. So from 37 to 76, that's already, if we're rounding it, just about like 100 pips or so, and even more. This was also another area after understanding, overall what structure was doing on a higher scale. I finally able to actually understand the structure over here, and I'll do it like so. Watch. So this is another trend line we could draw to kind of like aid in active price because in all honesty, when we're looking at this trend line and just price right here, I want you to also understand something, and it could get quite messy. So let me try and take some of that away. So I'll just take these away so you can actually see it better. So understand when I say these higher lows, look at these higher lows. This was the lower low that was created. Boom, right? This higher low was created right here. Boom, right? This was a higher low created right here. These are all entries that you could take on lower time frames and risk little to nothing. But the reason why you see me showing these type of risks is because like this one you risk 17, this one you risk 31. In all honesty, you didn't even have to risk that much because if you were watching off the hour, right? How you did it down there was an actual pinpoint where you could have did it off the actual, you could have damn near did it off the 15 actually. I understand the structure and where you were. And you could have even put your stop losses like damn near right here, 25 to 30. Yes, still. But it's still a 1 to 2 risk ratio, so that's still a good sign. And as form of risk to reward. That's why it pays to know your risk to reward. Because for every dollar you're risking, you want to be at least willing to make, two, three, four, five. You don't really want to risk going to make only one. So if we're risking $30, we're projecting to make 76. If we're risking 300, we're projected to make 70, 760. Same thing for here. So this is already together 100 pips. Us understanding that, also understanding structure still being intact, understand that this was kind of like messing with me. And then after seeing it for how it played out, how structure was being respected, was overall this was a higher low considerably still exactly because it kind of respected structure within here, but as well just developed higher, and it respected that, and it kept the overall maintenance of this whole, like, I would say, just bias, to go up, and it kept these TPs intact, being able to be hit at some time of point. This was also another trade I had looked into after seeing things were being respected and seeing how I'll even take this one off and utilize that. And then we obviously again need two candles to have broken structure. We got this one right, but ultimately we didn't get another one. So when I seen this green engulfing was made, once that green engulfing was made on lower time frames, I understood that eventually structure would either be broken or respected. So after looking at it and watching it, I seen that eventually, like you see how you can see it on the 5 minute, how it created this low and then this high kind of, and then I overall was seeing if it would break this low. You can even look at it better off the 1 minute. And usually when you go to this low enough time frame, you start to see a lot of structure, so it could get quite confusing as to what you're seeing and whatnot. But overall, this was the low in the high right here, the low and the high. So overall, when this structure was presented as a high and it was broke through, you could kind of on a 3 minute, because now you're dancing back in between time frames to get the best structure, right? This was another play you could have took, understanding that structure is broken off the 1 minute, and it was respecting that breaking structure right there. Not right here, but this one you could have took, and I actually took that one, and I actually took that one. I took two plays. I took this one, understanding what I understood. And I was only risking damn near 9 to 10 pips off this whole last trade, me understanding where it was. And then as well as here as well, off the 1 minute time frame. And I was only risking like 10 pips. And then when it went up, I had seen at some particular point in time that structure was obviously respecting this. Like this was a wick right here, but it was overall on a lower time frame, some form of structure. Like on the 1 minute, I'll say, I had seen structure being formed right there. For right here, and then it was also respecting that. So when I had seen that, I had kind of like waited probably on the 3 minute time frame to see if it would break my 38.2 that I could place on there. And at this time period, I wasn't even indicating this as a higher high. I was kind of seeing it as a lower high for when it started respecting the higher time frame structure. Not even knowing that once it broke right here, I got out these two trades right here. So it was like I still came out at a profit, but understood I didn't even risk, that much merely. And I was also already maintaining it. And I knew that if it broke my 30.2, I'd just get out. Now, this is where I fucked up. I'll tell you. Because after I seen that happen, I was uneasy with the overall trend, and I didn't take that into mind on the higher time frame to see that as a possible re-entry, or just the market overall consolidating and making a higher point or ending a lower, like overall just consolidating. I didn't put that all together. So on a lower time frame, when I was analyzing it and I was watching it, it did not occur to me that this was another good entry that I could have got in after seeing that engulfing, and it truly never broke structure. And overall, we would do it from here to here because that would make the most sense. And it respected that 886 mark. It didn't even really tap the 100, or I would say print at the 100, because this could have been another entry. And then guess what? You theoretically on this trade would have only had to risk 8 to damn near 6 pips, right? But just to be safe, you could put 8, right? After seeing that engulf happen off the 15, your projection would it still have been all the way up here, damn near 57 pips in profit? Because this is one of the first TPs off the hour time frame. And we're not even doing overall projections from the higher time frame, such as a 4 hour. This is TP1 and TP2. And look how much you damn near theoretically, I'm going to do the math for you so you actually could understand it to a certain extent to see why I actually do trade the market, why I actually do trade Forex, and why it's like a source for me to, break what I'm like going through in life. Watch. After, I would say, we've seen that breaker structure happen within these wicks right there. Even though you can't see it, I can identify it with just understanding my experience. Um, Simply after seeing how all that happened, right? When the market came up and tested this high, came back to kind of like print structure. I overall kind of knew that here's the low and here's the high. I knew that overall, if structure doesn't come back here and break down here, it's going to just create some higher low at some point to what it would should respect either here or even where it broke at, which is the 786 is reflecting to overall get in another trade, basically like another entry. And on the 3 minute, you could see it as engulfing right there. Or if you were, savage as hell, savage as fuck, which my mentor is like, this would have been one of your first entries, literally right here that you seen that engulfing, and your stop loss could have been placed 10 pips to damn near 8 pips. But in respects to what we're going to do is 10 pips just to be safe, right? And then overall, your targets will still be up here. And then look, that's another 54 pips. So let me just show you these two plays, just these plays that I just showed you in general, what it adds up to, and what you could have made off these simple plays that I just put. Besides the one I got out. So let's just say these ones that I got in and got out in profit, which was like 37, or yeah, 37, 30 to be exact. Let's just round it. And then up here, this one that could have was kept was 76, but altogether I'll just do 100, right? In these two plays right here, the 54 one and the 57, altogether there's 200 pips, just above average on average, and you're risking to little to like 10 pips, 8 pips. These were plays too that you could have held, but those were ones I actually eventually got out of because it retraced against me too much. These ones actually were just ones that you could have got in and actually, it respected it and actually continued going. So besides those two plays right there, this one and this one, which is a combined 100, and then these two, which is another combined, but I got out that one. So combine 100, that's 200, right? So I just want to show you guys something real quick. Just real quick. This is what people don't understand. Them 200 pips, you know, let alone them 200 pips that was caught, right? I'm going to show you why I trade. Them 200 pips, whether or not you know it, could have made several things happen for somebody. If you caught 200 pips off a zero point 0.1, you would have made damn near $20, right? You have made $20 because every pip is a penny for a penny lot, and so every 10 pips is $1. So 100 pips would be equivalent to $10 because every 10 pips is $1, and 10 pips times 10 is 100, and you just do the math for that. But yeah, for 200 off a standard lot, and this is just to put things into respects. This is equivalent to, this is $5 times uh, This is 1,000. You would have made 1,000. Literally. That's how these lots work. It depends on your lot size, your education, what you know. 200 off of standard lot, right? Watch this. So that's 10 pips. I mean $10 every, pip when you catch. So it'd be 10 times. So that damn near be, watch this. My head's not right now, guys. Let me I just got off. That's 2,000. Catching that many pips. And then here it gets even more dangerous. 200 off a 5 standard lot. That's 50 pips. Times that by 200. That's 10,000. That's all game right there. That's all game. That's all love right there. That's somebody monthly. That's somebody monthly. Why didn't it let me? Yo, this shit is acting weird right now. That's somebody monthly. Look. Yo. Okay, guys. My computer messed up for a little bit, but just put this in retrospect. This is the last thing I want to show you before I end this video. Basically, that 200 pips that I showed you, the moves that I was able to easily catch within the beginning of the year, that I'm able to figure out and kind of anticipate week by week, day by day within the market. Look at how that 200 pips could have unfolded for you if you understood and knew what you were doing, and you were managing your account properly. You could have threw a penny and made $20. Or if your account was big enough, you could have threw a point 10 and made $200. Or if you knew what you were doing and your account was a little bit higher and you had through a point 50, you could have made 1,000 off that 200 pips. The same thing for a standard lot, which is this 1.00. You would have been able to make 2,000 off this move, let alone, as well as this 5 standard lot. If you had understood to a T and you knew what you're doing and you were managing, your account, your trade, your risk, and overall your just projection and just your money and just everything, you literally could even make 10,000. I gave it an extra zero. And then look at this. Things get more different. When you throw a 10 lot, you'd have made 20,000. If you knew exactly what you were doing, you had enough capital, and everything was being maintained properly. If you knew exactly what you were doing and you threw a 50 lot, you could have made 6 figures. Yeah, last night. You could have made 6 figures last night off that one move that I just showed you. This move right here. So I understand it looks, weird. It looks like candlestick. It looks off. You don't know how you can understand it. You don't know how you can get it and stuff like that. We'll get them numbers I just showed you, and get to understanding that financial literacy and just you overall understanding the market is actually something that's vital for your future as well as your fortune. Because if you do not find a way for your money to work for you, you will work for the money for the rest of your life until the day you die. And I will leave that off with that note, as a famous Warren Buffett has said, and that's the quote that actually literally haunts me day by day as I live my life, because I want to be able to always have my money be able to work for me rather than I work for it. And people don't understand that. They don't understand that time is actually invaluable. you can't put a price on time. And when you start to get that taken from you, you start to look for different avenues to be able to live life as well as make money. So, in all, do what you love, you know. And if any of this had interest you, and how I was able to have made some of that money, as well as show you what was possibly able to be made if you understood and knew what you were doing, then if you have any concerns, questions, or any interest, hit my line up, and I look forward to speaking to you all you guys soon. All right, peace, guys.